A pleasant day to you, everyone. Our previous lesson has brought us sufficient knowledge on different approaches on educational planning, the key concept of educational planning, its importance, and why educational planning is required, and the benefits of it. Also, we were able to understand the difference between the traditional educational planning and the strategic planning, and facing the different challenges of academic trends of today. We were able to understand how can we address those challenges. And today, our lesson is about the education sector plan preparation. Who are the key players? And what are the processes involved in the preparation of education sector plan? At first, we have to define what an education sector plan is. An education sector plan is by nature a national policy instrument elaborated under the responsibility of government, which provides a long-term vision for the education system in the country and outlines a coherent set of practicable strategies to reach its objectives and overcome difficulties. It is based on a sound analysis of the current situation and of the causes of successes achieved and difficulties encountered. It should include implementation and monitoring and evaluation frameworks. The essential characteristics of a credible ESP may be described as follows. A. An ESP is guided by an overall vision. The plan, for instance, through a mission statement, indicates overall direction including the government's development policy, the approach the government will follow to reach its goal, and the principles and values that will guide this approach. The second one is an ESP is strategic. Why strategic? It identifies the strategies for achieving the vision, including the human, technical, and financial capacities required, and it sets priorities. The next one is an ESP is holistic. An ESP covers all subsectors such as early childhood education, primary, secondary, and higher education, and should also include non-formal education as well as adult literacy. It recognizes the need for coherence among subsectors, with a specific attention to the levels attached to recognized education rights and compulsory schooling, and reflects awareness that education takes place throughout life. The learner is defined as the central beneficiary of the education system with recognized rights and needs. So, an ESP is holistic. Another is an ESP is evidence-based. It starts from an education sector analysis, providing data and assessments that form the information base on which strategies and programs are developed. The next characteristic is an ESP is achievable. An ESP is based on an analysis of the current trends and thoughtful hypotheses for overcoming financial, technical, and political constraints to effective implementation. It should provide a framework for budget and management decisions. It is also recognized that strong ownership by key stakeholders largely determines ESP feasibility. Another essential characteristics of a credible ESP is it is sensitive to the context. It includes an analysis of the vulnerabilities specific to a country. Vulnerabilities might, for example, include conflicts, disasters, and economic crisis. An ESP must address preparedness, prevention, and risk mitigation in order to strengthen the resilience of the education system at all levels. So this is very timely and appropriate to talk about the education sector plan facing this crisis due to COVID-19 pandemic. Another one is an ESP pays attention to disparities. A sector plan should recognize that within a country, there may be significant gender differences between girls and boys and inequalities between groups of students in their participation in education and the quality of education they receive. These groups may be defined, for instance, by their location, their socioeconomic or ethnic characteristics, or their abilities. A credible sector plan must identify and attend to gender considerations across the plan, including whether gender disparities intersect with other sources of disparity and address the specific needs and opportunities of different groups. So, having those 7 characteristics, your ESP may be credible. Why is an education sector plan important? The preparation of education sector plan is important and necessary, for it aims to make the best utilization of existing resources, and they emphasize human efforts rather than additional money investment. Education is essentially a stretch process whereby teachers and students stretch themselves and their resources in the most efficient manner. The appraisal of an ESP is an important step in mobilizing external and domestic funding. A comprehensive and credible education sector plan is a critical tool for outreach to development partners and education stakeholders internationally and nationally, including civil society, teachers, and parents. And how many plans we should be prepared? As mentioned in Part 1, education sector plans, like development plans, may be of varying duration, and in some cases, plans can be long-term, medium-term, and short-term. However, there is no standard length for each of these categories. The long-term or perspective plans, which cover a period of roughly 10 to 15 years, are less specific and indicate broad directions of development. Long-term planning is about setting a process by which a particular strategic plan will be achieved. Long-term planning usually differs for each department and involves monitoring and evaluating activities, as well as establishing goals that you expect to achieve 5 or more years ahead. However, we must be aware that the length of your long-term plan is not necessarily an indication of its quality. What is important is that you have clarity about what you want to achieve. So meaning, the more important or the most important is your objective of the plan. Examples of long-term plans are the administration would want to make the institution a world leader in information technology, or maybe making the university globally known for research, or known for producing competitive medical workers. Those are some of the examples of long-term plans. How about the medium-term plans? The medium-term plans are more specific in their programs and strategies. Medium-term plans outline the company's direction for several years into the future. Unlike long-term plans, which may set goals that take decades to complete, medium-term plans deal with time frames that typically span 2 to 8 years into the future. Examples of medium-term plans are achieving quality in the field of education by subjecting its curricular programs to accreditation, achieving institutional accreditation, and many others. On the other hand, the short-term plans or annual plans are usually for 1 year and are linked to the budget cycles. They are also called operational plans. An operational plan is a highly detailed plan that provides a clear picture of how a team, section, or department will contribute to the achievement of the organization's goals. The operational plan maps out the day-to-day tasks required to efficiently manage the educational institution. Example of this is planning to establish a research collaboration with other universities. Another one is seeking funding for special projects. Most education plans are medium-term plans with specific objectives, targets, and programs. These plans may have a long-term perspective. Medium-term plans are translated into annual plans and budgets. In some countries, one plan, or the so-called national plan, is prepared. In other countries, several regional or provincial plans and one national plan are prepared. In certain instances, several regional plans and national strategies to facilitate implementation of regional plans are prepared. The way ESPs are conceived determines the process of plan preparation. If education sector plans are prepared for each of the regions or provinces of a country, how does one prepare national plans? There may be several options for plan preparation, such as number 1, prepare national plans first and the regional plans follow the national plan. This is a top-down approach to ESP. The second one is a bottom-up approach in which you have to prepare the provincial plan first and then prepare the national plan. And the other one is initiate the process of plan preparation simultaneously at the provincial and national levels. It is important to note that policy formulation is done at the national level. Each province will follow a common policy framework that is agreed on and approved at the national level. Hence, the plan priorities, whether at the central or provincial level, follow through from the policies. Therefore, it is difficult to draw up provincial plans that are consistent with national plans without guidance or guidelines from the central level, even when the planning process is decentralized. Needless to say, the national capacities and planning competencies required to draw up several provincial and national plans are large and varied. The next question is, who prepares the education sector plan? Who are the key players for the preparation of the ESP? The plan preparation process needs to be done in consultation with various actors to make the plan realistic and allow for its successful implementation. It is essential that the Ministry of Education be involved to lead the process. In some countries, there are more than Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Basic Education, the Ministry of Higher Education, etc. And here in the Philippines, we have two departments that manage the education system. The Department of Education, that is responsible for the basic education, and also the Commission on Higher Education, that is also responsible for higher education curriculum. Since the education sector plan by definition is sector-wide, all subsectors within education should play an important role in shaping strategies and preparing plans. Ministerial participation, however, should not be confined to MOEs alone. It should involve other ministries and departments aligned with education. For example, Ministries of Labor, Women and Child Welfare, Science and Technology, the Department of Finance, etc. They may be important partners dealing with certain specific layers of education. In large countries, especially those with a federal setup, the planning structure may be created at various layers of the administration, both at the central and decentralized levels. In some countries, even when they do not have a federal structure, regional provincial governments are important partners in the plan preparation process. At times, the plans are prepared at the regional level, and the national plans may be prepared based on the regional plans. Even when the structure is not federal, the participatory process requires consultation at the regional level. It is important that the process be fully participatory and include a large range of stakeholders such as civil society, teachers' unions, and ministries other than education, as well as the partners who will be in charge of implementing the plan at the local level. During the preparation and appraisal of the plan, attention should be paid to the quality of the process as well as to the quality of the final product.